So now Paul's going to turn his attention towards Israel and her vocation, and in a sense, the vocation that Israel abdicated by not being open to other peoples being a part of the people of God, and in a sense, abdicating their vocation precisely to be all these things that he lists: guide to the blind, light to those in darkness, corrector of the foolish, teachers of children, having in the law the embodiment of knowledge and truth. This is what Israel was supposed to be doing, right? But they kept, in a sense, they kept the law to themselves, a law that in the end they as a people could not keep. And this list of crimes that he said, when you that preach against stealing, do you steal? You that abhor idols, do you rob temples, etc. This isn't he's not talking about each individual Jew. He's talking about the Jewish people as a whole. And it says, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. That is because of your group behavior. Those outside of your community refuse to come to the one true God, whereas your job was to invite them into God's presence. Does this sound familiar, people of God? That those who are outside the community look at the behavior of those in the community and say, I'm not sure I want anything to do with what this Jesus, this all this stuff they're doing. I don't think I want to have any part of that. I'll be spiritual. I'll find my own way. I'll make peace with the universe somehow, right? Because I do not want to deal with these Christians. Now, Jesus might be okay, but Christians, they're a whole nother bag. And this is precisely, in a sense, the condition in which we as the church find ourselves. And so we're called to, in a sense, to live out the law of God's love for all peoples. That's what he's saying, in a sense. He's saying to Israel, to his Jewish audience, we all know that there are lots of Gentiles who have not yet come to the faith, who have, in a sense, the goodness and the love that God desires for everyone in their hearts. In a sense, God has written their law in their hearts, and that's what he seeks. And we, in a sense, we're called to bring that law into the law in their hearts into a relationship with Jesus, just as those who have a law on stone tablets are called to be in a relationship with Jesus. But both, in a sense, are called to live in the fullness of God's love and his vision for a flourishing humanity. And just because the Gentiles don't have the law on tablets doesn't mean that God isn't working in their hearts. And this is what we are called to see in those who have not yet come to faith in Jesus, who are waiting on our testimony, that we are called to testify through word and deed to what we believe, to testify to God's love. That's our vocation. And if we hold that, as Jesus says, if we put that light under a bushel basket, if we keep that to ourselves or allow that to be something where we're standing apart from others, or this is my thing and you can do your thing, that's not an option for Paul. That hasn't been an option for most of Christianity. We as Christians are called to invite. The Jews were not supposed to be a people who said, you Gentiles, you go be goy. You go be, horrible pagans. That's fine. We're going to be the pure people. We're going to worship with God. That's our thing. That's precisely how they betrayed their vocation. We as Christians are called to be those who are open to others, and that openness requires not just, well, if they manage to find their way here somehow, well, we'll tolerate them, but an openness in terms of being invitational and being welcoming to all who need to know God's love for them, who have that law of love written in their hearts and need to know, in a sense, how to speak it into the world. A reading from St. Paul's letter to the Romans. All who have sinned apart from the law will also perish apart from the law, and all who sinned under the law will be judged by the law. For it is not the hearers of the law who are righteous in God's sight, but the doers of the law who will be justified. When Gentiles, who do not possess the law, do instinctively what the law requires, these, though not having the law, are a law to themselves. They show that what the law requires is written on their hearts, to which their own conscience also bears witness. And their conflicting thoughts will accuse or perhaps excuse them on the day when, according to my gospel, God, through Jesus Christ, will judge the secret thoughts of all. But if you call yourself a Jew and rely on the law and boast of your relation to God and know his will and determine what is best because you are instructed in the law, and if you are sure that you are a guide to the blind, a light to those who are in darkness, a corrector of the foolish, a teacher of children, having in the law the embodiment of knowledge and truth, you then that teach others, will you not teach yourself? While you preach against stealing, do you steal? You that forbid adultery, do you commit adultery? You that abhor idols, do you rob temples? You that boast in the law, do you dishonor God by breaking the law? For as it is written, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.